You've been looking for a water heater that won't leave you scrambling every morning when the hot tap runs cold, that fits into a cramped mechanical room, and that actually pays for itself over a few years of use. The fear of dropping a few $100s on a tank that leaks, corrodes, or just can't keep up with demand is real, especially when you're running a small hotel, a dental office, or a laundromat where hot water is part of the business. It's easy to get lost in a sea of specifications and think more gallons means better, but the truth is the right size, the right material, and the right install details make or break the whole experience. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. Let's talk about the Rheem Commercial Hot Water Storage Tank, 120-gallon model. First off, this isn't a premium tank with a fancy touchscreen or a Wi-Fi thermostat. It's a straightforward, steel-cased tank built for durability and for fitting into tighter spaces. That's the kind of practicality most small business owners need, a tank that does its job without demanding a full engineering overhaul. Who should consider this tank? If you run a property where you need a steady supply of hot water for multiple fixtures, think a boutique hotel with 10 rooms, a small restaurant with a dishwashing line, or a community center with a few showers, the 120-gallon capacity hits a sweet spot. It's big enough to handle peak demand without constantly cycling on and off, which not only saves energy, but also reduces wear on the heating elements of whatever boiler you pair it with. The tank also fits through a 30-inch opening, which is a genuine convenience when you're dealing with older buildings where the only access point might be a narrow service hatch. That means you can slip this unit into a space that would reject a bulkier 150-gallon model, saving you a costly remodel. On the flip side, if you're a homeowner with a single bathroom and a dishwasher, this is overkill. You'll be paying for capacity you'll never use, and the larger volume means the water sits in the tank longer, which can raise standby heat loss, a hidden cost in the form of a slightly higher utility bill. For residential applications, a 40 or 50-gallon tank would be a better fit. Now let's dig into what makes this Rheem tank tick. The core of the design is a proprietary steel formulation that's coated with 2 layers of high-temperature porcelain enamel. In plain language, the inside of the tank is protected from the corrosive action of water and heat, which is a common failure point in cheaper tanks. In a commercial setting where the water might be harder or the temperature cycles are more aggressive, that double coat approach translates to a longer service life. You'll also notice 2 heavy-duty magnesium anode rods already installed. Those rods act like sacrificial lambs, corroding before the tank walls do, extending the lifespan further. For a business that can't afford a sudden shutdown for a tank replacement, that built-in protection is a real peace-of-mind factor. Installation-wise, the tank comes with 2-inch NPT connections for both the circulating line and the hot outlet. That's the industry standard, so you won't need a custom adapter unless your existing plumbing is already non-standard. However, there's a catch. The temperature and pressure, TNP, relief valve isn't included. You'll have to order the appropriate valve based on the water heater you pair with the tank. That's not a huge obstacle, but it does add a small line item to the bill and a step to the installation checklist. If you're not comfortable sourcing that part yourself, you'll want a plumber who can handle it in one go. From a day-to-day standpoint, users report that the tank holds temperature very well. Because the steel is encased in that porcelain enamel, you get less heat loss through the walls compared to a bare metal tank. In practice, that means the water stays hot for longer and the heating system doesn't have to fire up as often. For a laundromat running a continuous load of hot water for machines, that can shave off a few $100s a year in energy costs. The downside is the weight. A full 120-gallon tank tips the scales at over 1,500 pounds. Even though it can pass through a 30-inch door, you still need a hoist or a strong crew to maneuver it into place. If your facility is on an upper floor with only a narrow stairwell, you'll need to plan the logistics ahead of time and possibly rent a small crane, an extra expense that isn't obvious from the spec sheet. Another practical consideration is the tank's standby efficiency. Because it's a storage tank rather than a tankless system, there is always a baseline heat loss, even when you're not actively using hot water. In a setting where hot water demand is intermittent, say a small office that only runs a dishwasher twice a day, you'll see a higher proportion of energy going toward keeping water hot rather than delivering it.